I was sent a list of reasons why evolution is wrong. Thought I'd take a look at this, see which, if any, could convince me the scientific consensus is incorrect. Let's take a look. 1. Birds. When you really think about the idea of natural selection and apply it to certain species, it doesn't always make sense. For example, why would birds evolve wings if they didn't need to fly before? What use were wings before they were big enough to get the bird off the ground? Until wings evolved completely, they would be useless. And so, why did birds supposedly spend millions of generations evolving a useful wing? There are several ways that wings could come about. The current theory is later dinosaurs evolved feathers that could be spread out as insulation for brooding eggs. Another is the old half a wing is better than none. Creatures who would consistently find themselves in high areas like trees for whatever reason, escaping predators, eating the fruit, what have you, would have a better chance of survival with what would essentially be a non-working wing if it could at least help them survive a fall. And my old paleontology professor thought that feathers and wide arms could be used as a pseudo-net for catching bugs. For whatever reason, we know that partial wings have uses, and these pseudo-wings eventually evolved into tools for flight that help modern dinosaurs, i.e. birds, flourish. 2. No missing links. If the species today evolved from other species millions of years ago, why aren't we digging up fossils of all these missing links? Evolutionists will line up pictures of extinct ape skulls and compare them to a human skull, but the gaps between each species are still too big. Okay, we have found many, many transitional fossils. Here's just a partial list. Wait, what's wrong? What? It shows that missing links have been found, and that they do exist. Yeah, because my fans love that bit. Fine, but this is because I choose to, not because the disembodied voices in my head are telling me to. It's not just the fact we have found skulls that are similar. When we trace the age of the skulls, or more accurately, the age of the rock formation the skulls are found between, we can use those dates to map out and see the slow but gradual process from our common ancestor to other modern great apes and the current version of Homo sapiens. Better? And even if you didn't find any remains between us and the common ancestor, the theory still holds. Fossilization is rare, and not everything gets fossilized. We have shown that other animals have evolved from their ancestors. We are animals, so we can safely assume that we have evolved as well. Additionally, we can map out the genetic similarities between us and other modern apes to illustrate how closely related we are to each other. 3. Single-cell complexity. Evolutionists believe that all life evolved from a single-cell organism, which came about when molecules combined in a random way. Then the cells supposedly divided and ended up creating more sophisticated life forms. Yet scientists aren't even sure how this occurred. No laboratory has ever been able to produce a single living cell. That's abiogenesis, not evolution. Biological evolution states that living creatures change over time via mutations and natural selection. It has nothing to say about how the first organisms came about. Even if we didn't know for sure how life began, we know that it changes. A parallel example to that would be our ancestors didn't know how stars formed, or even what they were, but they still knew they were out there. We have several hypotheses about the origin of life that I've brought up in other videos, the Miller-Urey experiments and the work by Jeremy England. But even if we had no idea how it started, we now know that life will change via biological evolution. We don't need to know how it started to accept evolution. 4. The human reproductive system. We all know that a male and female each contribute one chromosome in the form of a sperm and an egg. This leads to the development of a baby in the mother's womb. Although evolutionists claim that environmental factors change the chromosomes and cause small changes in the offspring, this is impossible. Environmental factors cannot change chromosomes in the ovaries or sperm cells. First off, we don't know that a male and female each contribute one chromosome in the form of a sperm and an egg. We don't know that because it's not true. For humans, each parent contributes half of the 23 chromosome pairs. Egg and sperm are not chromosomes. They're gametes, cells that fuse together, both of which contain half the needed chromosomes for a life to form. I don't know why you limited this to the human reproductive system. If you're not aware, the vast majority of multicellular organisms on the planet breed with some kind of male-female, or at least multiple gene crossover pairing. This is because sharing genetic information is a great way to increase the diversity of an organism's offspring. Also, it can be quite fun. You know what I'm talking about. F***ing is awesome. When single-celled creatures simply divide, there can be some differences, but not nearly the amount found from those that result in the mating of creatures that share genetic information. When a new organism is formed, mutations, slight changes that differentiate the child from the parent, will occur. These mutations are called germline mutations and are present in the egg and sperm of the donors before conception. These slight changes will build up over generations and are the cornerstone of the diversity of life on this planet. The mutations caused by environmental factors that you brought up are known as somatic mutations and will, in general, not be passed on to the next generations. Somatic mutations in the reproductive areas can cause mutations in egg or the production of sperm. 5. DNA repair. The DNA replication process includes an error-checking method and repair process to ensure it is performed correctly. Mutation does occur, but it is much rarer than evolutionists would have us believe. DNA repair is when the DNA strands of an existing creature are corrected to resemble the main DNA code of that organism. This occurs after it develops and the initial code of the organism, mutations and all, has been set. When a creature is born with any mutations, its DNA repair system, PAR and ATM activation, MDCI recruitment, etc., will repair it, including the mutations that differentiated it from its parents, keeping the DNA it was after conception. Mutations are not rare. As I've mentioned, there are between 60 and 120 in every human offspring, but most are so small as to not be noticed. If DNA was repaired when an organism was conceived so that it was exactly the same as its parent, removing any mutation, that species would hit a genetic bottleneck, meaning it would be outbred by organisms that did not have that repair system. Relating to the previous question, there is no DNA repair in the gametes, and mutations would occur there. And DNA repair itself is not always perfect. Mistakes can occur during replication and repair. So those are the first of the questions done. Stay tuned for the next batch. Hopefully, we'll have as much fun with those as we did with these. Get out of here! See you next time, folks.
Adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thionine might make up my DNA, but my love gene must be missing from its station.